All right, Lucas and Jessica, thank you so much for coming on. This is going to be a fun one.
For sure. Glad to be here.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, definitely. So the first topic I wanted to jump into is y'all jumped on Insights. What's been maybe like a few months ago, and a lot of people in the network were excited about the prospects of y'all joining because book a ton of great shows and at Prism, we were like, you were definitely one of the people who were like, oh, that'd be awesome to get them to jump in, and you finally did, and so I was just curious if we could just talk about like your experience with, like, how's it going so far, and like what was your thought process in joining, and yeah, feel free to yeah even share some of the concerns leading into it and how they've all resolved. But yeah, without further ado, I'll pass it to you. Yeah.
I can kind of start. The funny backstory on that is that Matt had been trying to talk me into it for a while. And then I saw him at the ETICS conference like last September or whatever that was, and had a couple drinks and like got much more interested in it that night and decided to kind of move forward. I think we had the same reservations that everybody maybe, thinks through in the process. Like, yes, data is good. We all want to see data. It's the most important thing. At the same time, like, you don't want your competition to see your data, and like what's more important was sort of the question, and we were kind of falling on the side of that we had access to a lot of other data and maybe we didn't need this. And then you talked me into it, Matt, and then now we're what, like 6 months in, something
Oh,
like
cool. 6 months. Yeah.
that. I'll let Lucas speak for himself, but I use it all day every day. I'm so glad
Wow.
that to have it. Constantly look everything up when I'm writing offers, or even just like deciding if I want to spend time to write an offer. I look stuff up. So it's incredibly useful and like really integrated into my workflow now.
Yeah, I would agree with all of
Incredible.
that. I use it every day, multiple times a day, all day. You go in, you add holds, we're building offers, you go into insights, you take a look at what everything looks like. It's cool because it's like super real time, unlike stuff like Polestar, where it's like,
Yeah.
cool, look at these numbers from 2008. That's not super relevant. Um, but it's great. And it's, bands that we book in real time, from the small clubs, couple hundred tickets to the theaters and arenas, they're all kind of in there. And it's been helpful to just see the kind of more independent side of what everything's doing and making data-driven decisions as opposed to just booking with your heart, which I love to do, but
Yeah.
isn't always successful for the bottom line.
Yeah, yeah, totally. If you don't mind, I guess either one of you, I just wanted to double click on like kind of how you got over your concerns with competition and Jessica, the thing that I don't know, sharing along the way was like, yeah, at the end of the day, like, is there a trade-off that is valuable, and like even if competition gets data, like the ethos of Prism is you don't get access to insights unless you also share. So anyone who benefits off your data, you benefit off theirs. But then on top of that, you have this whole kind of network effect where you can see everything else. Um, so yeah, well, what was your, and this is what I was telling you early on before the ETICS, drinks night. But yeah, well, if you don't mind, could you just double click on like where you started with competition and like how you came around to that? Yeah.
I guess I feel like I feel like the value, there's more value than there is harm, but I feel like it kind of, in terms of competition specifically, it kind of balances out in the sense that, like, yes, other people can see my offers. Yes, they can, or not my offers, but my box office reports. And so, yes, they can, use that information to make better offers. But I think I'm making better offers now that are more competitive. Because, like, if I can see a show, if I can see an artist and I can see that their number, I'm putting them in a 700 cap room and I can see they're doing 600 plus tickets in like 15 different markets across the country. Whereas if I can make the right offer. Whereas if I didn't have that information or I just had a
Amazing.
little bit, I'd
Yeah.
be making a lower offer because I'd always like err on the side of being cautious, right? So it gives me a little bit more boldness with my offers, which hopefully gets me more shows in the long run. That's kind of where I am with it. What do
Um,
you
um,
think, Lucas?
yeah. Yeah.
I agree. It's like, okay, is it possible that maybe someone will see how our shows did and then take that artist on the next time they're in the market. I mean, totally. That's totally possible and probably will happen and whatever. I mean, but we also like to think that we are a part of the artist team and kind of working with them along their career in both our main market of Richmond and also all the other markets. So, it's not for us, it's not just one show and done with artists. Our hope is to grow and work with them and build. And so to Jessica's point, like being able to see all these finals across other markets allows us to make better offers for more shows. And so like, yeah, if we lose a couple, sure, that is what it is. That's the nature of the game. But if we can make more better offers and get better shows, it's all just like a net positive.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, y'all made me think of something that is just a part of like the industry-wide conversation that is happening with insights and our like agency friends and their reaction to insights and like the Jessica like the point that you're making I love, which is like, hey, this is actually there's a lot of situations where this actually encourages you to lean in or like make a more confident offer where in the absence of data you might pass on or you might not make sense of it. So there's plenty of situations where a show actually happens that might not have happened, or it happens in the right room, and then you end up working with that artist again because the show, wasn't oversold or whatever. And I think there is this like limiting perspective that I've seen from some agencies, not all, that just is kind of like a fear-based response around like, hey, I don't know, this is, the promoter is our opponent and we have an advantage in this like information asymmetry. And like, and anyway, like I think the answer that I've always given is, what you're mentioning there, Jessica. But I just did a podcast with our mutual friend, Matt, over at Atlas Touring. And he was one of the first agents that I showed insights, and he was like so excited. Like it's like this benefits the whole industry. And I think Matt in general like has a great approach to things. But anyway, like, yeah, I'm just kind of curious to hear your perspective on like the agency side and like, yeah, just to double click on what you said about like this is oftentimes an opportunity to like lean in. Like, what's your view on like why, yeah, like how agents should think about this and like why it's just like a net good thing versus something that's like, I don't know, unfair. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of
I
like
think
led the question there, but yeah.
I think during COVID when we all had a lot of time and we're like talking a lot, promoters talking to promoters, but also promoters talking to agents. I did talk to a bunch of agents about this idea and got
Mm.
really varying responses. And some of them, were some of them were very on board with it and proponents of it and wanted to even like assist with it. And some of those agents who were very on board with it were big agents who had, large acts that have been touring for, a big roster with very successful artists. But I also saw the opposite response too. And I agree with you. I think it's grounded in fear. And to me, it just, that type of, if your response as an agent is like, I don't want the promoters to have any data, that suggests that there's a problem with what you're selling.
Amen. Yeah, amen
It
to that.
suggests some other things too, but it's problematic to me to not want to share with independent promoters information that is widely available to both of the two big companies.
Right, right. That's a great point. That's something that I come back to when I'm having tough conversations with agents. Is like whether or not we provide this to independent promoters. Like Live Nation has their system, and if you're part of Live Nation's network, you get a benefit from the 60,000 shows they do a year or whatever. And Insights is slowly getting to a higher volume now, which is exciting than what Live Nation does a year. But yeah, whether we do this or not, and we're not stopping. Yeah, like Live Nation has this benefit, and then okay, then do you want to have that conversation that like okay, that's another thing stacked against independent promoters on top of inflation and all the fun topics that have been talked about at nauseum. So I don't know. I'm just like constantly reminded that it's a good thing for the industry, and these conversations have helped a lot. Yeah, Lucas, do you have a perspective on kind of the broader yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the same as what Jessica said. I mean, honestly, it's like sometimes it feels bad if an agent has information that they want to willfully withhold, and it's like so now we're just guessing and kind of shooting in the dark. So like why not have all the information, because then that allows us to help make the best decision for their artist in our market, because while agents and managers are trying to have a very in-depth understanding of every market and every venue and every city across the country and maybe the world. I mean, we know our markets. We do hundreds of shows in them. We're in the venues every day. We see the people coming in and out. So, if we have access to this information, we can make better decisions to help grow the artist across our market, across the region, across the country. And so it's not like just guessing and hoping that this is the right room, because honestly, if an artist plays in a market and is only 30% sold in the room, they're going to feel bad. The attendee's going to feel weird. The venue's going to feel weird. But if you have that same number of tickets sold in a room that's the right size, band's going to feel great, the crowd's going to feel great, the venue's going to feel great, and it's going to be a good experience, and they're going to come back and they're going to do more tickets the next time, as opposed to playing to an empty room and feeling like, well, damn, should have played a different room. And it's just kind of weird for everybody.
I was on mute there. It's like, okay, yeah, if an artist should, if like the data, if the data says that the offer that they're pursuing is not a good one, it doesn't mean that a different offer in a different room is not a good one. And it's like game theory, y'all, right? Like everyone benefits when everyone benefits. Like I hope that's not like overly idealistic, but yeah.
No, I mean, there's also definitely this like intangible of, growth and unexpected growth. And hey, this artist was doing this many tickets, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden they have this single that came out and it blew up, and now they're doing 5 times, 10 times as many tickets. And like, obviously you don't know that, but you can't just like guess and hope on that and say, well, I
Yeah.
know we did 60 tickets, 100 tickets last time. We're going to do 1,000 9 months later, or whatever the specifics are. It's just, let's be
Yeah.
smart.
No, and totally. And even in those situations where like the date, like the artists, and I wanted to run this idea by y'all. Before the call, we started like talking about AI. These conversations are so fun. I'm already like, there's 10 different ways we could go with the conversation, but I'll try and stay somewhat organized. But before we were talking about AI a little bit, and I have some ideas on like automating some like AI prompts when you get into insights and doing things like, okay, hey, you're looking at this band. We'll just use someone who has passed, Mac Miller, rest in peace. But okay, so you get an opportunity to offer Mac Miller. You go to Insights, and Insights could help you say like, all right, here's the ticket sales, but like it goes and looks at like, was there a recent album drop that got like a high rating on Stereogum, and is there these online indicators that like hey, like the band is trekking for about 1,000 ticket sales and $50 ticket. With that being said, there's all like, there's good the data says there's good reason to be optimistic. And then you can just have that conversation with the agent as opposed to like working in a data vacuum. And maybe there's a situation where you lean in with confidence. You're like, all right, we're going to take risk knowingly, or maybe we like stack the back end because, hey, there's not the data to validate it, but you know what? Like we want the band and we're willing to go risk the room, but let's stack the back end and make the show happen. So again, I think more information just leads to more opportunity for everybody. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think about like lacing some more like in AI? Granted, expecting that it does its job and doesn't hallucinate and gives you the right information, but like, yeah, putting AI on top of Insights data and to try and like scour the internet for other indicators as well. And yeah.
Jessica built her own GPT to help
Oh,
analyze
Well, to
bands
be
and
fair, another promoter, I don't know if I should say who it is, but another promoter I'm friends with gave me the GPT, and
okay.
I've sort of refined it and made it my own over the last like 6 or 8 months since I got it. But I use that all day too.
Oh, cool. We'll have to talk after. Yeah, keep going. I want to hear more. However much you want to share about it, I'm down. Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is I can explain what it is, but if it was integrated into Prism, I'd rather have everything in one place than like all these different things open all the time. What it is, it's called Artist Offer Researcher. And you go into the GPT and you just type the name of a band, and that's all you write. And it has a formula, sort of, for lack of a better word. Like it has a formula in it that spits out all of this information into you, within 10 seconds, starting with just kind of like a background of the artist, then talking about their social media, talking about hype and press around them. And then it tells me I have mine programmed to talk about previous performances in the markets that I booked. So it lists all of those for me. Sometimes if a show was sold out and that was public information, it will say that. Otherwise, obviously, it doesn't know the numbers. Another reason it'd be great to have it integrated.
Yep.
And then it makes recommendations for the offer, often not right, but interesting to watch. And I've been like trying to teach it. I'll be like, that is a crazy suggestion that you just made. I'm like trying to teach it to do a better job with that.
Like
I don't
consider
really.
in the bar, the 100% of the bar, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just very wide what it will suggest. It doesn't know how to make suggestions for like how much to pay the artist necessarily, but it is pretty good with saying like this belongs in a 500 cap room, or it'll make jokes like this isn't your stadium show and things like that.
Cool. That's incredible. I think I know who built it. Is he in Philadelphia?
I'm not going to say because I
All
don't know
right.
if he
Yeah,
wants
yeah.
to share.
Anyway, great promoter, great data-driven promoter, and
Yes.
I've seen this. It's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah, and I think combining AI with social media, and that's the future of insights. It's like doing more and more of this stuff, and like we have our main effort early on was like to stack the data share and to get as many data, like to get as many people in there as possible because like yeah, you can go on ChatGPT right now without Prism and get some indicators out there, but I think like by far the most powerful thing to predict ticket sales is past ticket sales. And like that's gated information. So our first effort in insights was like to get more and more of that gated info to like to be a data source that there's this concept like good data in, good data out, bad data in, bad data out, and yeah, I'm so glad you brought up this GPT you're doing, and like I'll show you some prototypes after the call of like what we're thinking. I would love to pick your brain on it, but it's like it's such a no-brainer, right? Especially with AI, and like you made a good point. Like the point of AI is not to tell you exactly what offer and the exact ticket sales. Like it'll never be accurate enough to do that. It's really exciting, honestly, the prospects of like getting the guessing out so that yeah you can just put the right band in the right room and say yes to the right opportunities and pass the wrong opportunities on to somewhere else where it can be a good opportunity. And I'm just getting so excited talking about the prospects are very very interesting. Yeah.
I mean, if they're
Oh, go ahead, Lucas.
no, you go, Jessica.
I was just going to respond to what you said and then I'll stop talking. But I mean, I do think that it will definitely be able to make offer or tell you what to offer. If it had all of the data and it knew what your expenses were, I mean, it could absolutely make really strong
Yeah.
recommendations and save you a little bit of time or at least provide a different perspective.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like we're only seconds away from that. And it just comes from like being able to, I've already taken like all of my box office reports and dumped them in to my chat GPT so that it knows my history. But if it had much larger history, it would have the data that it needs to make those kinds of more accurate recommendations.
Yeah, incredible. We're looking at, even outside of core of insights, we're looking into how Prism can like integrate more with GPT so that you could like in a private setting like give access to your account of Prism and like get data on the fly, perform like tasks on the fly, or there's so many opportunities. Lucas, you were going to chime in and say something.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Spotify integration that's happened semi
Cool.
recently. And
Yeah.
I think that, that's another piece of information we use a lot. I'm always find myself on roster, tracking, social growth, Spotify growth, following
Cool.
growth over time. And I think finding ways to kind of integrate all of that to Jessica's point, like if we could have all the information in a single place and not have to go to a bunch of different places to find the information would be sick. But that's,
Yeah.
trying to find these
Yeah.
intangible metrics and things that have help you write better offers based on what's happening to the artist. Oh, did they just like triple their you know social following in the last month? Okay, well, something's probably going on.
I'm so glad you brought up the Spotify integration. That was one that came from talking with the promoter, and he promoter out of San Diego, and he had like a really good idea, and we were like jamming on that, and have a really good partner to grab that data from. This like ticket sale AI company that takes data from sound charts, who collects it from the Spotify API, and then like puts it in a sandbox and like helps fill in the gap with machine learning. It's like there's a lot that goes behind that Spotify feature, but the hopes of it was like, okay, you're looking at Mac Miller, and there you are in I'll just use big cities. There you are in Chicago. You're trying to offer on it, and you see the Los Angeles play and the New York play, and the Los Angeles play and the New York play are like very different. Well, compare the Spotify audience in all of those markets, and that can like directionally guide you. Like, let's say you have a bigger Spotify following in Chicago than LA does, and the gross sales in LA was 30,000. Well, then maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable that like it will be at least 30,000 because the local Spotify following is larger. Is that basically how you're using it, or like how do you use it? Yeah.
I mean, it's just another good piece of information. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
one listener doesn't equal one ticket.
Yeah, of course that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every, not every artist populates based on the number of listeners they have, and I guess however the integration is coded.
Yep.
Um, but when we
Yeah,
do
there's a
have it,
limitation of like what Spotify publishes. Like they only choose to show the top 50 markets, but we track it over time so we can
Mhm.
fill in the gaps. So like for instance, like I don't know, take like San Diego, like it's likely that the biggest artist or like most artists will be popular in Chicago at any like over the next month, like almost every day, because it's just a giant market. But over time, like the smaller markets will pop into the top 50. And in that moment, we can grab the audience data and then like fill in the gaps. So that's where the machine learning comes in. But there's some situations where an artist just never pops into the top 50, and then we just don't have the data to grab. But yeah, so that's what's going
yeah,
on.
some of our tertiary markets, it's hard to find
Yeah,
information
yeah,
for.
yeah. It's like Smith in Smithsville. Like it's not likely that a band will ever be in the top 50 there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad you found that feature. One thing that I'm just like laughing about is like for those that don't know y'all, we should just talk about what you do and this incredible business that you've set up. So like what is Broadberry, number of shows, number of venues? Like let's just start really high level. Yeah.
Well, we'll start with Broadberry because that's what you said. So
Yeah.
I opened the Broadberry, which is our 550 cap brick and mortar venue, back in 2014 in Richmond. Um, but it was just a one single location. Met Jessica. She was an outside promoter. I'll let her tell the rest of her story, but she was doing some shows with us. Um, Started kind of expanding out into other venues in town. And then we kind of, I don't know if you want to jump in and then we can go chronologically in the timeline, Jessica.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that'll be fun. Yeah.
Okay. So I had a company called the Trigger System that I started like almost 25 years ago, and that was my outside promoter company. And I used that company to book shows and all over Virginia and different venues. And then, as both like an outside promoter and an in-house promoter from time to time for different places. And then when the Broadberry opened, I started doing a number of shows there, and that's how I met Lucas, as he said. And we just sort of naturally started. We just kind of naturally started working together and co-promoting shows. And so our company kind of started as a partnership between the two companies. I think the first year it literally was just a partnership, and then we decided shortly before COVID to become one company, which we called Broadberry Entertainment Group, and use that company as to book the 25 plus venues that we book all over the Virginia, West Virginia, a little bit in North Carolina, indoor, outdoor, small club, arena, so forth.
Yeah, nothing like launching a new company in November, the fall
Oh,
of 2019 with huge
perfect.
hopes about how big 2020 was going to be.
Oh my.
Um,
Yeah.
But I will say, not to like pivot and talk about COVID for a second, but we had just merged our companies into a single entity, and so like it was great, and then COVID happened, which was not great. But being a kind of small, nimble, independent company with creative, owner operators and driven staff, we were able to kind of pivot, and we did a bunch of the pod shows, drive-in shows, kind of socially distanced stuff, live stream stuff, just to kind of like continue staying relevant. And it allowed us to operate in some of these larger spaces that would have taken us probably a number of years to kind of grow artists and kind of grow our careers into. But when you're doing 1,000 person show in a venue that holds 7,000 people, you're just there. And now you have the contacts and you have all the kind of
Oh,
abilities to go back into those once capacities open up, which is kind of what happened to, our big outdoor space in Richmond, Browns Island. And it just kind of opened a ton of doors for us to do our large format outdoor events, which opened up arenas and theaters and so much other stuff.
why don't we zoom out? So you own the Broadberry. There's another venue you own in Virginia, right? If I'm not mistaken.
So there's only one venue we own, and then we go
Okay.
into a
Okay.
ton of other ones.
Yeah. And what are the
We
capacity ranges of the ones that you go into?
I think the smallest 250-ish up into kind of like mid-size arenas,
Incredible.
10,000-ish.
Yeah, 10,000 capacity.
I'd say the majority, we do a ton of club shows in the Broadberry and Richmond Music Hall, which are in Richmond,
Cool.
330 cap and 550 cap. And
How many
then
shows do you do at like the 10,000 level, or I guess at 5,000 and up? Yeah.
I mean, so we operate four outdoor venues. The smallest one is the Botanical Garden, which is only 2,000 cap, and the other three are like 6,000 cap. Well, one's 4,500, one is 6,000, but the other two are both about 6,000. So we do maybe 30 shows a year, 35 shows a year, in those spaces around there.
and
Yeah.
then there's a handful of arenas kind of attached to either universities or localities in Virginia and West Virginia that will go into on kind of like one-off basis, and only do a handful in those each year.
Incredible. I love that. Um, I'm curious about like the arena side of your business. Like a lot of the times arena tours are like locked down by Live Nation, or they buy the whole tour.
They surely do.
Yeah, so how do you find your way into doing to doing these arena shows? Like, are you like the local promoter, and like and Live Nation is co-pro in those situations, or like, yeah, what's kind of like the economics of that? Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a complex. It seems like a straightforward question, but it's not.
I hear you.
I think some of it is just like the more bigger shows you do, and the more you're able to grow artists from like the bottom all the way up, the more opportunities you have to continue with them. And still, I mean, while I say that, I think it's true. At the same time, obviously, a lot of times you grow the artist all the way up from like the small club through the theaters, and then they leave and go to one of the bigger companies for the arena down the road. We are partners with Bowery Presents in Virginia and West Virginia.
Cool.
Like all of our big like outdoors, basically like everything other than our small clubs. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, that obviously brings a lot of value to in terms of like the avails that we see. But I mean, I think like I said, I think the more shows you're doing at the like just below arena level, the more we do, the more we get offered them ourselves.
Interesting.
So.
Interesting.
And it kind of goes back to something that I'd said earlier, where it's like, we know our local markets the best. Do
Yeah.
the touring departments and, the large companies, do they also know the local markets? Well, yeah, totally. That's their job. But, when you're only doing a handful of shows just in, arenas or theaters, it's not quite the same as seeing, what does the college crowd look like that's coming out to the show on a Tuesday night in the
Right.
small club, and like what is the overall vibe of these markets that we're going into, and being able to do the volume that we do, we can develop these relationships with marketing partners or radio stations or record stores or other restaurants to kind of do giveaways and marketing things. As opposed to only calling when we need them for, some huge arena show once a year or whatever. So it's kind of
Hey,
developing these relationships across all of the shows that we do so that it benefits all of them.
yeah, I think you have a pretty cool setup there where you've managed to like stay in like stay with artists all the way up to the arena level, because like it oftentimes just gets lost from the local promoter at that point. So that's cool that you've been
We
able.
still lose them from
Yeah.
time to time. And
Yeah.
I'll say maybe more often than we don't, but
Yeah.
the highest likelihood of being able to continue working with them as an independent company is doing their show for 47 people on a Tuesday night,
Yeah.
in a 250 cap room, and then growing them kind of across the portfolio of venues we go into.
And is that what in the situations where a band sticks with you all the way to the arena show or not, is it basically the band deciding? Like, I hate to be so simplistic there. Like, I'm sure it's not exactly maybe it is the conglomerates and them wanting to de-risk it, but like, does it just boil down to like, hey, like the band's loyalty, and not just loyalty, but like, hey, this promoter has been really effective for me on top and loyalty plus like, trusting that y'all are going to do a great job. And I guess my question is, does it stem from the band, and like why, and what's your understanding of like why they decide to, stick with the local promoter versus not? Yeah.
I mean, I can think of a very limited number of examples where it was like my relationship with the artist that made that happen. Because I don't know. I mean, I can think of a couple examples where that's true, but for the most part, it's the relationship with the agent that makes it
Okay.
happen.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool.
It's like certain bands that like you have talked a lot to the agent about and like express. And yeah, I don't do this with every band, but like certain bands, I talk to the agent about the artist as the band is growing, and make sure it's clear that this is an artist I want to keep working with. And while I want to keep working with every artist as they get big, you can't. If you say that about every single one of them, you're not saying anything special. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you just sort of naturally gravitate towards certain acts. And I think it's the relationship with the agent though that allows for it.
I agree with that. I think also there are maybe some artists that it's in their kind of ethos that they want to respect history and continue working with the same people they've worked with. Maybe not because we have a personal relationship with, the front person of the band or whomever, but because in, their
Yeah.
heart, they want to work with independence, or they want to keep, hey, we've done 4 shows in this market with that person. We want to continue working with them when we can. But yeah, I agree with Jessica. It's definitely a lot about agent and management relationships.
Cool. Cool. When I asked the question, like I probably more so meant like the team around the band, but that's cool. And I definitely said band, but that's cool that in a few situations it's the band themselves that pick you. But yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's full circle to the conversation that we had earlier about insights. It's just relationships and trust, and like, hey, like we're these people that can, like, we're not trying to get a quick hit with you. Like we want to help, grow this band all the way to them become an arena if they're so lucky that it would happen. And yeah, I think I don't talk to a lot of local promoters that find their way into staying with their acts all the way up. So I hope it's honestly a trend that I hope to see more, especially being someone who's like rooting for a healthy kind of independent class outside of like AEG and Live Nation. And not hating on those companies, but I think there's a huge percentage of tours that have gone to Live Nation now. And those shows can be the most like economically beneficial shows there are. And like a lot of the big money is made on the arena tours. So I would like to see more independent promoters win those back even. And it's curious why it is so, I don't know, it is like such a monopoly or duopoly on the top of the industry. So it's cool to see y'all like breaking through and like making it happen. Long story short. Yeah.
I mean, I just want to say that I totally agree with everything you just said.
Yeah.
And like the tour deals, we constantly lose shows. So like while we have been moderately successful with retaining some, we every day we complain about how many shows we lose to the tour deals from Live Nation. So it's a constant in our everyday life. So I very much agree with you.
I hear that. Well, I think that's a good segue. I wanted to talk to you about like how like the industry is in general. So like I didn't realize y'all formed right before COVID. That's a crazy story, and it's like it's really interesting that there was a silver lining of you working with these bigger venues and building relationships there. And yeah, that's really incredible. There has been like a lot of like kind of macroeconomic conversations happening right now about the challenges in the industry. And like how are you seeing, like how is your business doing right now in terms of like how it's done in past years? And like do you feel like ticket sales have slowed down or alcohol sales have slowed down? And like yeah, what's your overall kind of like bird's eye view of like how the industry is doing? Yeah. And like where it's going to. Yeah.
I mean, alcohol sales have certainly slowed down. I mean, in the clubs, it's 25% down. I mean, ticket sales, it's always tough to manage or to kind of like analyze overall because people want to go to see hot bands. One thing we have seen, and Jessica talks about this all the time, and it's kind of one of the things we try and pay attention to is people don't want to keep coming to see the same artist in the same market in the same venue, every 9 months or 12 months. And so we're trying to be cognizant of, not just doing the same thing with the same artists over and over again, but trying to find either new venues or new plays or new markets or whatever to kind of put those bands in.
Cool. Yeah. So you think like the variety is helping?
Jessica?
Yeah.
The variety in terms of what?
Oh, just what Lucas was saying about just putting bands in different rooms and like not just like repeating the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trend that Lucas is talking about that I talk about all the time is like the return plays are not working. And I think this is a national trend because I hear tons of promoters saying it. Like if you're a band that's on the up, like this, like your return plays, that's how you're growing and that's working great. What's not working is everybody else. And like before COVID, a band could just come back kind of, I don't know, but I wouldn't say an infinite number of times, but every year, every couple years, and
Thing.
do
Yeah.
around the same numbers. And it's not like that anymore because there's and part of it, I think there's so many factors. I mean, it's ticket prices, it's competition, it's the abundance of shows, it's the price of like all the big stadium tours, and where like if you've got $500 to spend on concerts this year, maybe you
Yeah.
used to go to you know 30 shows. And now, that were like $15 to $20. And now it's like you just spent all of that or nearly all of that on one ticket to like some big tour. So I think there's a million different factors, but like the return plays is the big thing that's just not working. And the way that we're sort of handling that, other than just transparency, is like just trying to route them through our other venues in different markets. Like you played Richmond this time. How about playing Norfolk or Virginia Beach? Or how about playing West Virginia in one of the markets we booked there? Because it's that or just not do it. And we don't want to not do it. So this is where we find ourselves.
Yeah, interesting. Have you found any like creative strategies to combat alcohol sales at the Broadberry or any of the other venues where you're like involved in the bar? Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. A hot topic is THC drinks, which,
Yeah.
we certainly have and sell, but it is in no way like the savior of the alcohol industry.
Mhm.
It's a cool other option. I mean, we have some, number of NA options, whether it's mocktails or non-alcoholic beers. But I mean, I think it's just like people's trends and their habits are changing. And so like, the first thing is an awareness of that. And the second thing is, okay, well, how can we capture something different? I had a conversation with an agent semi recently where, they love to use the thing, well, you keep the bar and it's like, well, yeah, sure. But when the bar sales are down 25%, that
Yeah.
argument is like 25% less effective because people aren't coming in and drinking in the way that they used to. Um, so I mean, it's tough, and there's not like a great solution. If someone has one, I would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Aside
Yeah.
from book more country shows, but as a whole, it's just down, and it's tough, and it hurts the bartenders, it hurts the venue's bottom line. It's a difficult situation.
Yeah, I think the solutions that I've heard is everything that you had mentioned, NA, THC drinks and yeah, and just food and beverage, like yeah, I don't think there is like a silver bullet. I do know what happens with alcohol sales and like so I mean down 25% is astonishing. I mean that is a big hit. And I don't know where my head goes is like, is that the economy? Is that a trend of people drinking less? Is that all of the above? I guess no one really has a true crystal ball, and the answer is probably, a mixture of all of that. But I wonder if it'll come back or bounce back. Like, I don't know, do you have any, not that you have a crystal ball, but in your thoughts, like do you kind of ask yourself those questions and like what do you think would have to happen for it to come back? Or are you just kind of saying, you know what, we can't count on it coming back. Like, let's just figure out how to make this business work without that. Yeah.
I mean, I think we're trying to pay more attention to the demographic of the show because, millennial audiences and slowly older audiences will still drink. It's kind of
This
like
is
the younger.
another thing I want to surface in insights. It's like demographic of artists.
Sure. I mean, I
And
think that would be great to know because, like, if we're going to have, 500 people in the venue and we're going to do $20 a head, well, that's great. If we're going to have 500 people in the venue and do $2 a head, well, that's a whole different story.
is
Um,
there bands where that's the case? It's that big of a spread?
oh yeah. I mean, you get, like if you have an artist that's crowd is 19 years old and rabid fans, they're going to come in the door and they're going to go to the front of the stage and they're going to not move until the end of the show. And they're not
Oh,
like buying food, they're not buying drinks, they're like holding their spot and waiting for the show to start.
wow.
Um,
Wow. And I can imagine there's this like kind of internal conflict because like that's amazing, right? Like you want that. You want to book the bands that have these like incredible, fan bases and like at the same time, I don't know. You don't want to like force those people to be like, hey, remember buy a drink on the way out or whatever. And if they're just yeah, I'm just thinking about like the conflict of that. Like,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely a
yeah,
weird vibe because it's like, we're
yeah.
a concert venue, but also like we're a bar. So we
Hmm.
need to sell booze, but we also are selling tickets and concerts and experiences
Yeah. Do they buy merch? Those fans? So they'll go wait in like a merch line at the end of the night.
for 2 hours. It'll snake through the venue with kids, spending a ton on an $80 sweatshirt.
Are you finding merch negotiations are heating up because, like you said, like, hey, you're this kind of like 19-year-old TikTok sensation. We know your fans are gonna go to the front of the line. They're not gonna buy any drinks, but they're gonna buy merch. And like, yeah, are you finding that like the ball is kind of shifting to like, hey, like the venue should get like a fair chunk of merch sales on like, and for the soft and the hard merch sales, or yeah, or has it been the same, more the same, or yeah,
I mean, it's just an age-old debate, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Right.
What's the policy at the Broadberry? Are y'all in on the merch splits?
We Every deal is different.
Yeah.
But I will say,
I think it's
typically
fair.
we offer artists 100% on all their merch on every door deal that we do, which we
Okay,
feel is the
cool.
fairest way to operate, where if you're willing to share in the risk on the artist deal on the tickets, then we're willing to let you keep all your merch. If you're asking us to, put whatever amount front end guarantee, that's fine. We do that all the time. But we're going to keep a percentage of the merch sales.
Yeah. I like that. You're like just you're giving options, It's like, hey, like um do you what's your one of the hot industry topics is kind of like ticket sales data. Like I don't know if those are murky waters you want to like bounce into. But I've heard some people say something similar on like ticket sales data, like, hey, if it's a door deal, like no problem, we can share the ticket sales. But if that's actually one of the things that I talked about with Matt from Atlas. But so other people are a little bit more like sensitive to sharing the ticket sales.
Are you talking about the basically like the email address and the buyer
Mhm.
data?
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Situational with y'all as well, or yeah,
I mean, we don't really share that with anyone. We feel like the customer bought a ticket to our venue and opted
yeah,
into our specific marketing, and for us to pass their information on would be a violation of that trust.
yeah, yeah,
Do you agree with that, Jessica?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the policy that we have. I mean, the only exception to that is like artist VIP experiences where, we need to pass along the ticket buyer information so that they can maybe send out the information that's needed to show up for the artist VIP experience.
yeah.
But that's
But
more for communication purposes, not for, hey, that's for communication purposes for an on-site event.
Are you finding that these artist VIP experiences are like a way to kind of monetize on like the 19-year-olds that like hug the stage from door open? And yeah, can you upsell them VIP experiences and meet and greets and stuff and get a cut of that? Yeah.
no,
The artist gets all of that.
100% of it, but it costs us a huge amount of money annually to put on those experiences. We retain 0%. It's very expensive to put them on, and
Yeah.
a lot of agents struggle to understand this. But like, if your artist VIP experience starts 1 hour before doors, everything through the whole day has to be 1 hour earlier, including all of your production staff.
Yeah.
Everyone's coming in an hour early. And that can add up to a great deal of money over the course of a single show and certainly over the course of a year.
Yeah.
And especially in some of the larger venues where, some of our outdoor venues, in order to, have the venue be fully closed and secure, it's
Absolutely.
10 security staff that need to come in for an hour or so. And like it can sometimes end up being in the thousands of dollars. And it's usually an argument we have to have, but it's like, look, we're making $0 on this. We're operating this for you so your artist can make sometimes 5, 10, 15, $20,000 extra. And all we're asking is that you cover the expenses that it costs to produce this
Right.
experience.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, immediately what I'm thinking there is it's just like all of these things are like the structure of a deal, right? Like there's the merch, there's the VIP, there's like the demographic of the audience, and is there a big upfront guarantee? And like this is constantly what the industry is like arguing about all day long, every day. But that's an interesting perspective on the VIP side of things. Do you find, um, yeah, do you find like there's a continuum of like kind of reasonable agents or unreasonable agents on that? Like, do some people get that and like, are more favorable about you putting it into like the show expenses? Yeah.
I mean, typically the VIPs are settled completely separate, where it's almost like its own like little sub deal on the
Okay.
deal.
Yeah.
Um, in the smaller clubs, it's easy. We just have a flat fee. It's like, hey, this is how much it costs for, everyone to come in basically an hour early and for us to administer the back end, logistics, setting it up, communications, answering questions, etc. Where it becomes a little hairy is in the theaters and large outdoor spaces where, okay, we're going to do this experience. We don't yes, we have these like 6 bullet points of what the experience is, but we'll tell you more exactly what it's going to be like 9 days before the show. And then we quote the security and the production, and sometimes you need stagehands and whatever. And it's like, hey, you didn't tell us it was going to cost $1,400. And it's just a difficult conversation to have
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
the reality of how much it costs to operate those experiences.
Have you seen these VIP kind of requests like ratchet up since the pandemic? Is this like a newer thing?
It's the new ticket album bundle.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking that. Yeah. We're getting a lot of people asking us about this with Prism to handle it in like a purpose-built way. And I'm like mentally noting that I want to reach out to y'all about it. So it's ratcheted because it was around before, but it's definitely ratcheted up quite a bit.
I mean, sorry, I'm talking a lot, Jessica. Go for it.
Go ahead.
I mean, we kind of hinted on this, but like everything is expensive. It's
Yeah.
expensive for us to operate venues. It's expensive for artists to go on tour. And so, like,
Yep.
if they can find a way to do this, 30-minute, 45-minute thing with their super fans that are willing to pay, 100, 200, 300, sometimes $500 to like take a picture and hear 3 songs or take a picture for 30 seconds, it's worth it. And then the artist doesn't have to raise ticket prices on everyone else, and it helps them kind of make their tour sustainable. I mean, even in some
Absolutely.
of our
Yeah.
smaller rooms, I mean, we have a show at Richard Music Hall tomorrow night that has a VIP aspect. They're only going to sell, 12 or 15 VIP upgrades, but that's 12 or 15 times $50. And you add that up over the course of your tour. And that's, all of your travel, all of your lodging. And suddenly your tour goes from being financially not viable to financially successful. And so I get it, but, the artists can't do these experiences to make their tours successful at the expense of the venues
Yeah.
just kind of eating all those costs.
Yeah. Absolutely. Super interesting. Yeah, I was gonna, Jessica, did you have anything you wanted to add on that? I was gonna segue into another topic, but yeah, I want to pause before. Yeah.
Just be saying the same thing.
Yeah. No, y'all are a fun team. I want to like talk to you near the end about just your collaboration, but it's been yeah, y'all have a cool partnership. I love it. In the spirit of like staying focused, like I feel like another topic is like, ticket sales and ticket fees, and like there was like this all-in ticket thing. And you mentioned that we talked about insights at the ETICS conference. ETICS has been a great partner to Prism. I know y'all have been on, I think y'all are on ETICS and have been on there for a while, right? Like
Fun
yeah.
fact about our ETICS, we signed on with them kind of towards the end of 2019, 2020. Our
Oh wow.
first day of sale was March 17th, 2020, and we sold a whopping 0 tickets.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But we sold
How
a ton of tickets since then. Shout out
yeah.
ETICS.
Gosh, those are these moments too where like how ticketing companies behaved in that, and it was kind of like a situation, but y'all seem like you're happy with ETICS, and they've been good partners. Like why did you go with ETICS, and like how's their ticketing system been? Yeah.
um, so I've had a lot of different ticketing companies over the years. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
almost every one of them. The we I'm trying to think. I mean, we loved Ticketfly, and we were on Ticketfly. I mean, every promoter says they love Ticketfly. I loved Ticketfly so much.
Totally.
We were on
Yeah.
that. Eventbrite, bought them. Then we were on Eventbrite by default. We were pretty unhappy with like a lot of things about Eventbrite. Namely, like our website didn't work right. There was just like a lot of issues.
Wow. Yeah.
And so we, we're exploring different options in terms of ticketing, and we really liked our ticketing rep at eTix, who we met, and then we liked him. We liked the platform. We liked the sort of variety of client services that they offered in terms of the marketing with Rockhouse and just sort of we use the client support. Like we talk to our client rep, like not me, but like our ticketing administrator does, like, almost, I would say every day. And like, we just get great customer service from them.
Incredible.
So we've been pretty happy with eTix. I wasn't trying to have a commercial for eTix, but you asked.
No, they're a great partner, and like, who a lot of promoters and venues are like, listening here. So I love getting them a shout out. So happy to do a quick eTix infomercial there. Great group. And there's a Prism integration with eTix. Y'all use the integration?
Yep.
Yes, it's great.
Yeah.
It kind of, it cuts, not to say it dummy-proof settlements, but it definitely helps, real time. It's easy. We do marketing meetings with our full team each week, and you kind of go in and can get a kind of cursory overlook of like, okay, how are the shows this week doing? How are the shows next week? How are the shows this month? Based on sales, and kind of just do some projecting out without having to manually go in and input the sales, which would be pretty laborious.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to be launching something soon where you can see ticket sales over time inside of Prism. Yeah.
eTix has a feature like that we use. And a lot of it is like to compare performances, at mostly the Broadberry and some of the outdoor venues in town. We have a couple like annual events. And so it's just trying to like track how they perform over time from first sale to day of show. And it's interesting, like seeing them and, this year is way better than last year. Last year was what was different? Did we do something different? Is it the artist? Is it who knows what?
Cool. While we're in the infomercial side of Prism, the interview, might as well ask you a couple more Prism questions. Jessica, we were texting about the pro forma. You said it was a pretty helpful tool for you.
Yes, I loved the pro forma when it rolled out.
Amazing.
I wish it was one column over to the right. This is the smallest thing. It's out of order, but I love it. I use it. I stopped using the internal settlement key. I almost never look at the internal settlement thing now. I always just use and because it gives me all of the information, it's a lot easier to digest and see. And I can put in like my goal, my forecast, and my goal, and see the answers. It's just like all right there.
I love that.
Everything now.
I love that. Yeah, one of the things that we pride ourselves on Prism is like always evolving and making the system better and better. And like that was something that came from a lot of like our larger like theater and arena clients, and we just kind of dropped that on the customer base, and a lot of folks like didn't know it was coming, and the response has been like really positive, and I appreciate you reaching out. It was good to hear that it was helpful. It's one of those things that now that it's in Prism, I'm like, man, I can't. I'm so glad it's in there now. Like I wish it was in there the last like 15, or I haven't been doing Prism for 15 years, but the last like 5 years or so. But yeah, thanks always for giving us good feedback on everything. And do y'all feel like we're constantly improving it and making it better?
I mean, I'd say for sure. I mean, we love Kaylin. Shout out Kaylin, since we're still in the Prism infomercial portion. She listens to our, I will say, sometimes constructive criticism, sometimes just complaining, and helps offer solutions, and kind of, if not, obviously she'll put in requests for features. And that's great.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I can share a recent Prism story as part of the.
Yeah.
It's very recent and very true. I will just provide a tiny bit of context to the story. Is that I hate change. I like when you make changes and improvements. That's not what I mean. I hate changing my own processes, like when I have them. So when we moved from like our prior offer system into using Prism, it was a learning curve, and like I could see how it would work, but it took me time to learn. And so about 2 weeks ago, another promoter who I'm friends with called me up and was like, hey, we have Prism and use it just for like the calendar basically. And I'm like trying to get all of the sound buyers to start using it for like all of the offers. And they're saying it's like taking them long time to figure it out. Like, did you have that experience? And I called Lucas afterwards and told him that I said this. I was like, look, it took me, like, the honest to God truth is it took me like a couple months, like of learning curve to like really get it to be a speedy thing. And now it saves me so much time compared to the way that I did it before. And so like,
It-
yes, there was a learning
yeah.
curve. And yes, I understand why that person's employees are like, it's taking me longer because until you just start doing it, it takes a little longer, just like everything does. And now it's just like so much faster. And also like having everything just in one place is faster. So there's like a whole bunch of tertiary value to it.
Aw-
And and having
Awesome.
like all the break evens and everything like right there is also pretty useful.
Yeah, sometimes thank you so much for doing that, Jessica. It's like deeply, deeply appreciated. Can't tell you that enough. And there's definitely been certain circumstances where I've like heard of, promoters talk to promoters, which I love, and like share their experience. And I've heard this thing before, like, oh, there's a little bit of change management, and then you like see the light and there's no turning back. I think a lot of promoters came from spreadsheets, and yeah, a spreadsheet's a beautiful piece of technology. It's very flat. Lucas, you're a spreadsheet master. There was a couple
Love
situations where I was
love
like,
Excel.
yeah, I was like, oh, there's no way you're like doing this V, and you're like, I sure am. I'm like, ah, damn, okay, we'll work on getting that into Prism. But yeah, there's these moments where spreadsheets where you like it's infinite flexibility and it's fast and you duplicate a spreadsheet. But yeah, Jessica, I think like you said it perfectly. Like when you can get into a flow with Prism where it's faster, and then like the fact that holds and confirms and now insights, it's like all integrated. Like that's where you really get the time back, and having the org just having a better system of record. So yeah, I appreciate that deeply. Um, I'll transition us off of the infomercial part, and I have only a couple more questions. You had talked about insight, or sorry, AI, and how you're using it for like artist research. AI is just this like wave of technology that I'm still wrapping my head around. I'm sure most people are still wrapping their heads around it. And like, is there any other use cases that you found with AI, in terms of like making your business more efficient and effective? And like, what are you seeing out there? Like, what are you all using it for right now, and how's it helping? Yeah.
I mean, I use it nonstop all day. I don't ever close it, it just stays open. I use it for every aspect of the business and pretty much every aspect of my personal life too. But I mean, for the business,
Claude or ChatGPT?
I have used both. I do primarily use ChatGPT. That could
Cool.
change now. We'll see. But
I switched to Claude. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, now I'm just like, anyway, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I primarily have used ChatGPT though, and I have used it. It knows like everything about our business and remembers everything and gives really useful insight. Specifically, like we have a grant from the Virginia Department of Tourism that it saved me like I don't even know like 30 hours of application processing of application writing when I did that when I applied for it.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's
Yeah.
helped with marketing. It's
Mm.
pretty amazing what it does with marketing. And I don't mean just like write me copy for the social media post, not like that, more like larger branding campaigns. And really great with naming things. Like when you're like, I have a thing. Like yesterday, we were trying to think of a name for this like VIP area in a venue. We don't want to call it VIP area. It's very confusing to like, there's VIP for artists. There's VIP is not a good word to use anymore. So we were like trying to name it. So I just like described what it looks like and it just like spits out 20 names. Usually it's like, it spits out all these ideas. Sometimes it's like, that's the one right there. But usually it's like, it spits out an idea that gets me to think of something and like
Yeah.
to brainstorm. And it just like speeds up my process tremendously, but also with writing and contracts. I mean, I have a PhD in English, so like I'm a pretty good writer. But
Are you
like,
serious? I didn't know that. That's
yeah,
cool. Whoa.
I taught at the university here for 22 years. I just quit 2 years.
What? That's so
Um,
cool. Okay, we got something more to talk about soon. Yeah.
but I mean, so I feel like I'm a pretty good writer. At the same time, like it just speeds up my process so tremendously. Like I don't need to spend all that time like perfecting things. So like the work that it does with like contracts and writing them and reading them is so amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Reading contracts is just wild. It's like, is there any red flags in this contract? And it's like, my lawyer's still getting paid plenty, but there's certain situations that it's like, wow, it can contextualize things and like, is this really a concern or whatever? And I love your point that like, hey, let's like, it's not like it always spits out the perfect thing, but the collaborator that you can go back and forth with it on is really powerful. And I do think people you kind of know when someone just prompted ChatGPT and wrote something to you because it's like, wait a sec, like it's gotten smarter and smarter and smarter, but I think sometimes it lacks context or it just has like it doesn't quite pass the Turing test, you know. But yeah, if you use it as a collaborator, it's like it's unbelievable. And I agree, the marketing stuff is like super curious. All right, quick side tangent. How did you go from PhD English professor to booking shows?
I didn't go in that order. They both happened at the same time. I
Okay,
just workaholic and had two very full-time jobs, actually three for some time. But like I started as like a bar manager in a venue when I turned 21 and a bartender, then the bar manager, and then just kind of learned how to run the entire club and then just kind of learned how to book shows. And during that time, I was like finishing my graduate degree. And so
incredible.
just kind of like did both of the things the whole time for like the last 2.5 decades. And then 2 years, COVID was a pretty hard time for teachers, not just for concert promoters. And just like having concerts taken away, I just sort of realized how much I enjoyed all of that work. And so also not wanting to work two full-time jobs for the rest of my life, I felt like I needed to make a decision. And so I left, I stopped teaching 2 years ago. Um,
Oh, yeah, only 2 years ago, really? I didn't realize you were doing both. That's amazing.
yeah, I did both the whole time. It was kind of ridiculous and insane.
Wow. Wow. What's your like favorite literary topic?
My favorite literary topic. I mean, my master's degree was in early 20th century American literature, but my PhD, I have an interdisciplinary PhD. It's called media art text, which I kind of made into like a very progressive English degree.
Right.
And so, yeah,
Sorry to go for like the quintessential one, but I'm sure you've like studied some Huckleberry Finn and Mark Twain.
I have.
Amazing, amazing, super fun. All right. Side note for a future conversation. Back to AI. There we go. Back to AI. I mean, it's curious to see your perspective as like an English, PhD going to AI. Do you feel like the writing has gotten better, or like do you still feel like it you need to babysit it more, babysit it, and like that it like lacks like from your perspective. And all the topic is like, oh, it's getting close to being a PhD, or whatever. And I don't know if I believe that, but yeah, what do you think about the writing that you're seeing it as it's developing? Yeah.
I mean, ChatGPT can take ideas and summarize them and analyze them and use critical thinking and like express the critical thinking behind ideas in ways that take humans a lot longer to do than it can do. Um, it,
Yeah.
it's just saves so much. It gets to the final product a lot faster. In terms of like the quality of the writing, it kind of varies. I
Yeah.
feel like I never would take something that ChatGPT wrote and copy and paste it and send it to anyone for any reason because like it all needs
Yeah.
a little bit of fine tuning. Like it's never exactly right.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's like it just saves time. But I would never use it to just you know copy paste and send out to anyone. It's going to be wrong somewhere. Something won't be right in it.
Totally. Totally. Um, y'all use Slack, right?
Yeah.
We created a bot in Slack where we can talk to our code base in Slack, and Kaylin can go in and say, "Hey, Prism code base, like, Lucas just messaged me. There's some error with this like offer. Like, is this user error? Is there actually a bug? Like, what is the intention?" And the code base talks back to customer support. So it's been like it freed up so much time. Like, I think there's like hours and hours and hours my team has gotten back now every single day. Like people are like our code base has turned into a customer support rep for us, which is just like totally mind blowing. We're like thinking about how we can give y'all the power to like talk to Prism in Slack. And I don't know. I'm curious if that like plants a seed of interest, or if you've done anything like that, like hooked up your systems to Slack with AI. But yeah, what do you think about that idea? Yeah.
I mean, it would be interesting. Oftentimes, we're writing offers for artists in multiple venues in multiple markets, and if we could be like, "Hey, look at all three of these offers kind of side by side, and based on everything what do you think is best?" And not to say like, let's let the robots decide where the bands play. Um, but I don't know. That'd be kind of interesting to have
Cool. Cool.
conversations with,
Don't let the robots
some,
decide what the bands play.
yeah.
Yeah, if you get the industry, Lucas, let me go down that science fiction route. Do you think is that like I don't know, do you look at the inefficiency of the music industry and you can't help but think that AI could like handle a lot of this, but at the same time, like human taste and human curation is like there's things AI should do and there's things AI shouldn't do. Like I don't know, do you yeah, how much do you think AI is set up to replace certain things about the industry, and like what things don't it what things do you want it to replace in your job? What things do you not want it to replace? Yeah, there we go. There's the question.
Hmm. I mean, it's a great question, and I think it all comes down to like what do people like doing? I mean, I can imagine that there's some amount of like pretty tedious stuff that some agency assistants like ticket counts. Like why how can we not, automate and make the robots do all the ticket counts, both for our
Yeah,
team and for the agency team? But then it's like, well, now these like interns and entry level agency jobs don't exist. So like,
right.
okay, well, that's bad because that's where they learn how to do the job. So, I mean, I think everything is kind of a double-edged sword where it's like, should we find ways to be like so efficient that like, Jessica and I could do the whole company on our own? Like, well, sure. I mean, I guess as like a business is the bottom line, like maybe that's the best way, but ultimately like it's not the best way because like concerts inherently are bringing people together. And if we let the robots do that for us, then it's just going to be robot bands playing for robot audiences. And
Yeah.
now we just live in, the Terminator.
You
Yeah.
know what? Yeah, go ahead, Jessica, please. Yeah.
No, I mean, I disagree. I mean, we like, is there a future where like we wouldn't need people to do marketing, graphic design, ticketing, all of that? Like maybe there is, but like to me, the AI is presenting a perspective on things, and that's kind of how I use it in my life and in my business. It's like it's a perspective, but I want more than one perspective on almost everything, and that's why like the employees, like all of our employees have perspectives on the work that they do that's like integral to the success of our business. One perspective from ChatGPT, no matter how good it is, isn't going to ever be enough. Um, so I don't think that like
Amazing.
I
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same as like I'm not going to look at insights and say this is what I'm going to offer because this is what Insight said, or I'm not going to
Correct.
say this is what I'm going to offer because I really love this band and I need to pay them $1 million, or I need to offer this because ChatGPT told me to. It's like everything is a tool and everything is a data point, and the
Mhm.
only reason that like Jessica and I can book shows and my buddy that loves concerts but has no idea how it works can't is because
Yeah.
we have all of the experience and like the real life, been to shows, worked the shows, done, all the various things that go into putting concerts on. And so we can take all this information and put it together and then create events and not just ask the robots to do it for us.
Totally. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's the same reason why, like, y'all haven't lost like the tour side of, your markets is like they do the tours without you, sure, but you bring an element to it that's a human touch that's valuable. And yeah, I think I agree. Look, I think if we avoid the Terminator scenario, AI is a tool to give us superpowers where we can put humans into places where their creativity and their willpower and their decisions are high, like our is what matters, and like the rest of the work around that is streamlined. That doesn't need to be streamlined, but like at one point we were trying to solve the like the hold kind of calendar situation. Like the whole industry sends this repetitive email. It's almost like ticket counts. And by the way, um, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. Real Count. There's a software as a service business called Real Count that is helping streamline a lot of this for agencies, and it's cool to see it. But yeah, these agencies like still have people that are working with that system now and are just being more efficient. But yeah, anyway, like I think something similar to ticket counts is like the hold emails. And 5 years ago, I saw this like really repetitive email that's like running the industry, which is like, hey, Mac Miller's coming through town. Can we get the holds on October 1 through October 15th? And we have some technology that's not AI, but like it lets that kind of automate. And a lot of our partners kind of got back and were like, well, when the agent reaches out to us, like that's a bottleneck that we actually want, because when we get that email, we start thinking about the show. Is it right for us? And then we can start selling it. Like, yeah, like adding the holds kind of annoying, but like, yeah, this is what catalyzed us to like start working on the show. So I think that's an example of what you're talking about, Lucas. It's like on paper, it's like in the world of ChatGPT, we shouldn't be sending the same email over and over and over again. But like, there's a bottleneck that's there for a reason that like kicks y'all into motion for working the event. But I still think there's a way that we could streamline it and still have y'all like get a notification that like, oh hey, like this tour is going down. Like now's your opportunity to offer. But Anyway, like I'm just kind of coming back to the idea that there's like some things that could be streamlined and other things that shouldn't be. But let me ask that to you. Like if your hold calendar could get booked by a robot, like would you let the hold calendar get booked by a robot? Yeah. Or would you not want that?
I mean, I think for us, oftentimes we're pitching different venues than the agent asked us for.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
sometimes they ask for too small or too large or the wrong market, or, hey, actually, we should do both of these markets. And you only asked for this market in Virginia, but we should also look at West Virginia because I know your artists will do great there. And so if there was an automated system where it was like, hi, I asked for holds at the Broadberry, and it just sent back only holds at the Broadberry, we would lose so much of that interaction of talking about our other venues and the other markets we go into.
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, so again, that like, yeah, there's a little 5 minute task there to go and email the venues or whatever. But it kicks in a very important part of your job. I'm just like looking at my notes and feel like it's so funny when we talked. I was like, yeah, we'll block out an hour and a half. We may not end up needing it, and it goes fast, right? It's been a fun conversation, and like I can't wait to get this out there. Um, I think, yeah, let me like end with one big question. And yeah, sorry, y'all, I kind of put people on the spot with this last question. But yeah, what's your biggest hope for the industry? And like what's your biggest hope for Broadberry Entertainment over the next 5 to 10 years? I'll start with Jessica and then Lucas. Yeah.
My biggest hope for the industry. Okay. I am I'm a very big proponent of trying to form sustainable relationships with other promoters and other venues that we work with, and not just have relationships that are like going to benefit us, because I don't see any future in that, and not everybody feels this way. Even if there's like more of a downside immediately, I really like to have what I feel like is fair in place. And I think I have those relationships with like some agents, where like whatever amount they ask me for, that's the amount I give them, because I know that like they're trying to be fair. So like in terms of like my hope for the future of the industry, I would hope that we all move more in that direction, where like everybody wants to share data because that's in everyone's best interest, and that we're all like kind of working more together in sustainable ways, because I think that's the only way that like I think more artists will be more successful that way as a
Love
whole.
it. Love it. Yeah. What about for y'all? For Broadberry?
I mean, our we're sort of in growth mode.
Cool.
I hope that we will continue doing more quantity of shows and more bigger shows. Because bigger is like we're not really doing like more quantity, or like significantly more quantity now than we were a couple of years ago, but we're doing more bigger shows. And so like while I'm not trying to do like less of the artist growing, I want to do more of the bigger stuff. I mean, probably every promoter would say that, but that's where we are.
I love it. Love it. Yeah, Lucas, how about you?
I mean, that's such a hard and loaded question, and there's like a million things that I would love to
I
see
warned you.
the
Yeah.
industry do in the next 5 to 10 years. I think maybe if I had to pick one, it's like kind of a pretty macro idea, which is like, and I don't know the solution. I'm just gonna maybe ramble for a couple minutes about what I think a problem is like uh, uh, finding a better balance between access and economics. And I'm looking more at like the super hot artists and or like the giant stadium shows. And I think, those are the most highest profile, and they also create the most problems. You think back to Taylor Swift on sales and everybody freaking out about bots and resale and ticket pricing and platinum pricing and dynamic pricing and all this stuff. And that's a problem. And then, but people don't really understand. Like Taylor Swift can't play infinity shows. Like she could just keep putting Eras Tour shows on sale and they would just keep selling out because there's that much demand. And so there's ultimately, it's like, okay, this is a business, this is an industry, but it's also an art, and it's also, something that people do to gather and get together. And so like, how can we like find this balance between the economics of the music industry and like access to concerts, tickets, whatever, without pricing everyone out because, oh, well, the market rate for a Taylor Swift Eras ticket is, should be $500, but that's kind of messed up that she's charging $500 when that kind of cuts out access. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I really just, but
No,
there's something
I
there
love
that
that. Yeah, you hope to. I'm hearing that as like a hope for keeping the human side of this in play and yeah, it's interesting being in a capitalist society, which is like try and grab as much money as possible, but then at the same time, it's like, these artists are, yeah, you want to
Yeah, and it's
support
like
them. Yeah,
every side of the industry is a business, you know. The managers are a business, the artists are a business, the booking agencies are a business, the venues are a business, the promoters are a business, Prism is a business. Like it's all a business. So like everyone's ultimately trying to like make their bottom line, and we can't just keep raising every price so that every bottom line increases. So it's like,
yeah,
how do we find this, to Jessica's point, like these sustainable relationships so that everything continues to flourish and it's not just squeezing one thing to hurt the other.
yeah, yeah. I love that, like a more kind of equitable industry that like, keeps the fan in mind. Like that's a great thing. What about Broadberry? What's your like hope for with Broadberry Entertainment in the
Yeah, I
future?
mean, kind of the same as Jessica. You know, I hope we, are able to continue growing, mostly like growing with the artists we work with, continue to grow into the larger rooms, the larger um, concerts, larger spaces, more, theater arena shows. Um, but also personally, it's hard being a business owner and an employee in a job that you're passionate about. So it's like constantly trying to find this balance between like, well, what is work because like it's my job, and what is like overworking myself because it's like a thing that I enjoy and am passionate about. And
Yeah.
should I also go do other things too? That's not just like go to concerts, book concerts, listen to music, talk about music. So trying to like balance all of that in my life.
Yeah, it sounds like you've picked something that they say like if you don't want to work a day in your life, like pick something you love or whatever.
Yeah,
But I like to think like even if you love something, like it's still work, at the end of the day.
there's good days and bad days, you know.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, amazing conversation. Thank y'all for the partnership over the years and jumping on here. And I think we covered a lot of fascinating topics that people are going to appreciate. So yeah, can't thank y'all enough for everything.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.